Mr. Edwards here, and thanks for joining me for this very important lesson today. We're going to continue with the next section of our ongoing media literacy and digital citizenship unit. Throughout this entire unit, we're going to learn to understand our role as responsible citizens in an ever-changing digital community and critically think about the media messages and content that we see online. Today's lesson is entitled here, Debating the Privacy Line. And the materials we're going to be using were provided by Common Sense Media, so all credit to them. This brief video is part one of the lesson. The presentation file that I'm about to go through with interactive links will be posted alongside this video for you to access independently. Part two of the lesson includes a handout that you can complete independently or within groups of up to 3 of your classmates. Please be sure to access any links posted with this handout. The links could be external videos or supplemental text to read and are critical to developing a more holistic understanding of the entire topic. So without further delay, let's delve into today's lesson. Okay, so we are working here to answer the essential question: should the government have access to all of your social media data and cell phone data? Quite a controversial question indeed. We're going to identify the pros and cons, the arguments for and against schools having access to students' social media. Next, we're going to describe the concerns related to government access to social media and cell phone data, including those related to issues of free speech and privacy. Third, we're going to choose a position for or against government access to social media and cell phone data. And we're going to support our position with reasons and examples, reasons and evidence. So we're going to start with this brief video from PBS NewsHour. How much do you, before you watch this, how much do you think that your school knows about you? What do you think? Yeah, we know your name, your address, your class schedule, your extra, your academic information, your extracurricular activities. What about the ones that are not connected to school? Well, let's watch this video here. It's going to show how one school monitors its students' social media accounts. As you watch, I want you to think about how the school actually does it and whether or not you agree with the school's methods and logic here.
But first, schools are paying a lot more attention to what students post online, and that can have severe consequences for students and schools. Harvard University withdrew the admittance of at least 10 incoming freshmen who had reportedly posted violent, racist, and sexually explicit content in a private Facebook group. High schools are cracking down too, with some hiring outside companies to police social media posts. But monitoring online behavior is difficult, and civil rights groups are watching. Special correspondent Lisa Stark with our partner Education Week visited a school district in Arizona.
It's just before summer break at Dysart High School in Surprise, Arizona, outside Phoenix. Students are eating lunch, signing yearbooks, and they're immersed in social media. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube. More than 90% of teens say they go online every day, and nearly a quarter are online almost constantly.
Let me ask you, first of all, do all of you have phones?
Yes, we do.
Do you ever not have a phone with you?
No. It's always on.
We sat down with 4 Dysart students to talk about how they use social media.
Snapchat, I post every single day, like every day, all day.
I always post my thoughts, certain way I'm feeling, depends on how I'm feeling all the day.
When I'm done with all my work and if I don't have any work from other classes to do, I just go on my phone and see what's going on.
I don't really care who sees it, I'm just posting it because I think it's public, I'm open about it.
The problem for schools, what happens on social media doesn't always stay on social media.
I see a lot of bullying on Facebook that it transfers to school, and then like at the beginning of this year, this girl got into like an altercation on Facebook, and she ended up fighting at the girl at school.
When something's posted on social media and it's being talked about on campus and it disrupts learning, that's when we have to step in and decide if there's something that we need to react to.
Nationwide, a growing number of districts are watching what's posted online for anything that might impact their schools. Principal Amy Hartgen says the #1 concern is safety.
What's like, okay, we have got to get involved here? Bullying, would that be a red line?
Mm-hmm. Threats, intimidations.
What if someone posts something that's offensive language, racist,
Absolutely.
sexist?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes.
And why would that be a red line?
Because that is just, it's against the campus culture.
Students threatening to harm others or themselves sometimes telegraph that on social media, and districts have been sued for not paying attention to online posts. These days, the schoolyard has new boundaries.
Information space is just as important as the physical space anymore because it has that ability to snowball at a really rapid pace.
Zachary Fountain is the Dysart District Communications Chief and point man on social media. He trains staff on how to document troublesome posts.
That's teaching them things like asking for a screenshot of what has happened, understanding that a message could disappear in 5 seconds as soon as it's brought to their attention by a student.
Nationwide, both public and private schools keep tabs on social media in a variety of ways, hiring firms to actively monitor students' accounts, encouraging students to report anything worrisome, friending students to gain access to posts that may not be public, and through simple alerts every time the district and its schools are mentioned in any type of media. There's anecdotal evidence, but no hard data, to show that early identification of troubling social media posts can help schools head off problems.
School officials here insist they are most concerned about safety. They're not trying to pry into students' lives. But civil rights and privacy groups say it can be a slippery slope and that some districts have gone too far, that they have violated students' constitutional rights.
Students have been disciplined for liking other posts, for private online chats that others made public, for forwarding racist posts even in order to denounce them.
Schools need to think about how do we take on these issues in an appropriate way that doesn't have kind of the collateral damage effect of destroying students' privacy and free speech rights.
Chad Marlowe is with the American Civil Liberties Union. He says first and foremost, schools should not have open-ended access to students' social media accounts.
You're saying no phishing expeditions.
No phishing expeditions. And the way to do that is by not allowing passwords to be turned over, or what we call shoulder surfing. Log on your account and the teacher will stand over the student's shoulder and say, scroll, scroll, scroll.
Are you asking students for passwords? No. So, or login information or anything? No.
School Resource Officer Wendy Klarkowski is assigned to Shadow Ridge High School in the Dysart District. Her morning routine includes searching for school-related posts on social media. She's uncovered criminal activity.
A young man had decided to bring some marijuana-laced brownies to school, and he advertised them on Twitter and meet me in the cafeteria. We got him with all the brownies still on him.
And possible campus disruptions.
Some kids were going to protest something they thought was unfair. And it was all over Twitter, so we were able to get the kids that were leading it, actually the night before, so that they put an end to that so that it didn't disrupt the campus.
But why isn't it that their free speech right to protest something that they're not happy about?
It is their right to protest, but it is not their right to disturb an educational institution.
The ACLU's Marlowe worries about districts stifling free speech.
It's very important to draw the line between punishing an action that occurs on social media versus thoughts that are expressed on social media. Once you start policing and punishing thoughts, you are into very, very dangerous territory.
Two of the Dysart students we spoke with say they tread more carefully online after each posted a disparaging remark about one of their teachers.
I made a reference to one of my teachers last year on Facebook, and I almost got a referral for it, for what I said about her. And then me and the teacher ended up talking, and now she's my favorite teacher ever.
It was funny at first, but then I was like, okay, I need to take some precautions. for next time when I'm angry about something, not mention names or anything. I could say English teacher as opposed to saying their name.
So you're censoring yourself in a way, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
How do you feel about having to do that?
I don't really have a problem with it because it's not that serious of an issue.
Superintendent Gail Plotnick insists the district is careful not to violate free speech or privacy rights.
We're not crossing that line. We're not monitoring people 24/7. We're not the social media police, but we are concerned about anything that we feel will be harmful to our students.
Plotnick says technology changes so quickly that schools can find themselves operating in a gray area.
Those laws, those rules, those guidelines that we're going to have to use are being developed. So we're really not only flying this plane while we build it, while it's being designed.
It can be a rough ride. So Dysart and other districts are increasingly starting to teach digital citizenship, the responsible use of technology, to impress upon students to think before they click.
I like that. That's cute. Yeah.
For the PBS NewsHour and Education Week, I'm Lisa Stark in Surprise, Arizona.
Okay, that was a great one. I really like that. So what I want to do now is reflect, and I'd like you to, on a blank piece of paper in your class notebook, create this table, and pause the video, and make this T-chart. What are the arguments that schools should monitor social media, and what are your arguments that schools shouldn't argue social media? And once you've reflected a little bit, and you can identify arguments on each side, unpause and rejoin me. Okay, so some of the arguments that you probably identified for schools being that they should monitor social media is that because a lot of our problems like bullying start there, and then they spill over into the school system. Problems that occur on social media can often distract from learning and cause safety issues for the students. And finally, schools can be sued if they don't take threats seriously. If something's brought to their attention and they don't do anything about it. Some of the arguments that schools shouldn't argue social media.
Here are the 7 rules of free speech in schools.
Pause the video.
1. Students from...
My bad. Some of the arguments that schools should not monitor student social media is that actually going into their private messages is going a little bit too far and can lead to unfair discipline. Next, open-ended access, like collecting passwords, as I said in the video, or shoulder surfing, potentially can stifle students' rights to free speech and free thought. And we definitely don't want that. Okay, so the one word to know here for this is surveillance. Closely watching or keeping track of a single person or group of people. Schools aren't the only one tracking people's social media. Government also tracks a large amount of information that information about people, including their social media activity. Some say it's necessary to keep people safe. Others argue that it's mass surveillance and have a big problem with it. Critics say that it violates people's right to privacy and our Fourth Amendment rights. We know from government that a Fourth Amendment is the law which protects us as American citizens from unreasonable searches. Okay, so today you're going to look at some arguments for and against the government accessing your personal information, specifically focusing on social media and cell phone data. So what I'd like you to do is open up the safety versus privacy handout that I have linked, and read the directions here silently. Take about 20 minutes to review the 3 resources with the people in your group or independently, and complete the notes tracker on that handout as you go through those resources. It's going to track our thinking on this issue that the different authors and speakers are going to be making. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video now, and once you've completed that handout, rejoin me. All right, and so I know it's kind of difficult to do here, but like to you to share your thoughts with your classmates and try to capture new ideas, see what they have to say about it. All right, so finally, we're going to complete the last part of that. After you've reviewed all the handouts or the resources, you've taken notes, decide where do you stand on this particular topic. Should the government and schools be able to access your social media and cell phone information? If so, if there's going to be limits on it, under what circumstances? Okay, so synthesize your ideas on that handout and make sure that you clearly state your position and support it with specific reasons and examples. There were tons of them in those posted resources, so make sure that you're being specific. And after you've done that, then that concludes this important lesson as we continue to decide where that permeable line should be drawn and how much access private companies, the government, schools should get to our personal information.